Was he doing anything with the shotgun while he said that? Well, while he was saying that, he was fumbling with the shotgun and he opened it to drop a shell in it. Around that same time, I realized that I had my derringer in my hand. I was reaching for it when I went down and I had it in my hand. And I had it to set to 410. It's a 410 45 derringer. So I had one 410 round in and one 45 round in. So when he dropped his eyes to put the shell in the single barrel shotgun, I was shot in this arm and this hand. And I didn't know what I was able to do, so I raised my hand up, and when he looked, I had it up and I fired. And he said, "Oh," and took off. Did you get a good look? Did you have an opportunity through this process to get a look at the individual that had the shotgun? Yes, I did, because he sat there while I lay with my eyes open looking at him. He was talking to me. If you could, what is your recollection of what to describe what he looked like? Well, light complexion, well manicured, very light beard, short cropped hair, well dressed, and stood probably around 5'10", probably weighed 180 or so. Did you, from what happened to you, do you believe that he was alone or with another individual when this was going on? I would never believe that he was alone. Why is that? Well, I could hear the bark of more than one weapon. And when he shot me, when the shotgun hit me, the semi-automatic or automatic weapon fired. Like I said, I think it was automatic, but it was so rapid that he couldn't have done both. And I always thought I could hear the bark of two different weapons, but I don't know. How many people did you actually see that evening? I only saw one person, and that was the guy with the shotgun. Did you see the person with the shotgun holding anything other than the shotgun? Nothing else. Do you know from the injuries that you received, the wounds that you received, that you were hit by bullets separate from shotgun pellets? That is correct. Was there anyone else home with you at the time? Yeah, my lady was asleep in the bedroom back there. During the shooting that you described, was she outside in a position, outside meaning in a place where she could have seen any of what was going on? No, she could not have seen. It happened so fast. I think folks don't realize how many times a weapon could be fired in short order. But I could hear her say, "John, John, John." I said, "Stay back, stay back, stay back." And then after, it happened so fast he was going out the door, and I told her to pass me my 40 or my pump. And did she bring you some other weapons? Yeah, she brought it out. But by this time, the first responders came, and then the police. I'm going to show you a few photographs that have already been entered into evidence. Can you please publish Government's Exhibit 166A? Mr. Matthews, I would ask, if you would, do you recognize what's contained in this photograph? Yes, sir. This is the front of my house. This is the front of the house. This is a BMW 2002 745 Li and a 2005 Cadillac XLR. 166B. Do you recognize this area? That's the white wall and the brown wall. That's the area I was trying to get to make that left turn to pass in front of this unfinished wall. And the blood on the ground. Is that your blood after you were removed from the scene? That's me. Yes, sir. 166C. Is this a view of that second room just from a different angle in the room? That is correct. That is correct. It's panning from the inside of our great room or den area. Yes. And through what I'll call the archway or the doorway, it looks like there's a fireplace. Is that the front of the house where the front door would be? That is, if you were able to pan to your right, you'll see a small window, same size window on both sides of the fireplace, and then the door. 166F. Do you recognize that? Yes, sir. What is that? That's my 45 410 Derringer. It shoots either one or both. Is that the gun you were describing having on your person when you were leaving your establishment and then as the shooting broke out? Yes, sir. And finally, 166N as in Nancy. There are 2 weapons on the sofa. Do you recognize those? Yeah, those are mine. Are those the ones that your lady brought to you after you had been shot? That is correct. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as Government's Exhibit 169. Mr. Matthews, I'm going to ask if you can recognize what's contained in this box. Yes, that's my Derringer. Your Honor, I would ask to introduce Government's Exhibit 169. So ordered. How many wounds did you suffer as a result of this episode? I guess I was informed that I was hit 17 times, and so I took that as Bible, as they say the gospel, until I went back to see my surgeon. And he asked me the same question. He said, Lord have mercy, look at you. He said, do you know how many times you were shot? I said, yes, sir. He said, how many times were you shot? I said, 17. He said, Mr. John, I stopped counting at 17. So I have no idea how many times I was shot. Did you spend a considerable amount of time recovering from your wounds? A considerable amount of time. Yes, I did. Explain that process. Well, I was in the hospital. I don't know how long it took me to come out of coma, from the 24th to the 10th of the next month. Probably when I start remembering that I had what had happened, so maybe somewhere around that time. During the time that you were in the hospital, do you have recollections of being visited by New Orleans police detectives? Vaguely. Vaguely I remember one, and then another I remember a little better when I was in the hospital. Do you recall when you were in the hospital being shown a lineup by Detective Pratt? Yes, I do. I remember that. I show you what's been marked for identification purposes as Government's Exhibit 173, and ask if you can look through those photographs and see if they look familiar. Yes, sir. Do you recall being shown those in the hospital? Do you have a recollection of being shown those photographs to you in the hospital? Yeah, I remember those photographs. Yeah. Were you able to make a definitive identification through that lineup being shown to you while you were in the hospital? Yeah, I think I picked out 2. This was my first, and I said, they're pretty close, I said, but this would be more likely. Is there a number on that photograph? Yeah, 3. At some point later, a couple of months later on January 8th, 2011, do you recall meeting with Detective Pratt to view another lineup or a second lineup? Yes, I was. Where did that take place? Starbucks in Gonzales. Where had you gotten to as far as your recovery process by that time? I had processed pretty well. I had progressed pretty well. I had progressed quite a bit. I was able to sit up, and I think I might have... Did I have a wheelchair? I don't know if I had a wheelchair. I know I was able to be a little bit mobile. And when shown some photographs at that meeting, were you able to make a more definitive identification? Yes, I was able to make a more definitive identification, but I was not happy that they didn't bring me the color photos again, because one of my things was that I wanted to make certain that everything matched, that the individual, that the facial complexion and everything, because it wasn't that long ago, so I wanted to see, because of all of the things that I ever wanted was to make certain that the proper person was prosecuted or caught. Yes, sir. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as Government's Exhibit 174. Ask you to look through those photographs and ask you if you recognize them. Yes, I do. Is that the set of photographs that were shown to you by Detective Pratt in January? That is correct. Were you able to make an identification? Did you make a selection from that batch of photographs when you met with him in Gonzales? Yes, I did. And which number did you select, sir? Number 2. Did you indicate or memorialize the selection that you made in any way as to picture number 2? Yes, I did. And what does it say on the back? It says, Number 2, John E. Matthews, January 28th, 2011, time 7:32 p.m. This is the person that was one of the shooters at my home on October 24th, 2010. And then I signed it, initialed it. On the back of it, you indicated plural. You used the plural word shooters. Shooters, yes, I did. I still believe there were shooters. In connection with making that identification, or in connection with the one in the hospital, did anybody influence you, suggest to you in any way who you should select? Nobody, sir, nobody. After you recovered well enough from your injuries and wounds, did you remain in the New Orleans area? I didn't remain in the New Orleans or Texas or any place close area, no. Why did you leave? Survival instincts. Yes, sir. What did you do with your businesses, your establishments after you left? Well, I ended up selling them at a fire sale because, when there's blood in the water, all of the sharks come. And no one wanted to pay top value for either of them. So I got a couple thousand out of the one in New Orleans East. And a property that should have sold probably for pretty close, the whole thing for pretty close to $2 million. I think I might have got $600,000 out of it. Prior to you getting shot and having opened up the second location on Dowman Road, yes, sir, did a family member come to join you to help you run the now multiple establishments? Yes. Who? Me and my brother Curtis came down to give me a hand. I wanted to start the one in New Orleans East and allow him to run the one that's already established. How long had the second location been open, approximately, before you got shot in October of 2010? I'm trying to think. Maybe 6 months. I forgot. Did your brother Curtis remain in New Orleans after you recuperated and moved to handle the establishments going forward? He moved here before I got hurt. And recuperating, that's about a 3-year process, and then you're still not recuperating. In October of 2011, did you suffer another loss as a result of your coming forward in this case? Yes, I lost my brother. And of course, that's the worst thing that I could ever dream of. Tell us about Curtis. Curtis was a kind, young guy. He was my baby brother. My mini-me. We basically did everything together. I finished in electronics. He went into electronics. I was given a car, and I gave him a car. When he came up, he did the same thing. So we've supplied cars to our family members. And I could call him anytime, and he could call me anytime. Anything we had belonged to one another. Now, it's not like all of my family were close, but he was the baby brother, so me and my daddy took special care of him and vice versa. He was your business partner as well? He was my business partner. I put his name on everything I had. Not necessarily he spent the money, but I put his name on everything. It didn't make a difference what it was. He was part of it. Did he have a family? He had 1 daughter and 2 granddaughters, a couple of stepsons, 3 to be exact, and a couple of godchildren. I show you it's been marked for identification purposes as Government's Exhibit 178. Who is that? That's my brother Curtis. That's my brother Curtis, yes. Your Honor, I would move for introduction of Government's Exhibit 173, 174, and 178. So ordered. Mr. Matthews, thank you. Please answer the defense attorney's questions. Yes, sir. This is a good time to break, I think. We'll resume at 1 o'clock.